Hello Class 4 and welcome to our English lesson for today. So today's lesson is actually going to be a grammar lesson, and our LA is to know what an embedded clause is. Now this is something that we've not actually looked at in year 4. You might have looked at this in year 3, but I'm pretty sure this is something quite new to all of you. Now some of you might actually already know what an embedded clause is, but first we're just going to look over to the right side and it says the dictionary. So to embed something means to fix it in firmly. So to fix something into the middle of something. That's what to embed means. So that gives us a clue on what an embedded clause is. Now underneath our LA, it says the main clause can be split and have another clause sandwiched in the middle, just like a burger on a bun. So that sounds quite simple. So a main clause is just almost like a simple sentence. So underneath on my big burger, in the purple, I've got my main clause. It says the team's goalkeeper saved the goal. So my burger buns, that's just the bread and butter of any sentence, a main clause, nice and simple. Now my embedded clause is sandwiched in the middle. It's like my burger. The team's goalkeeper, and I can see I've got a piece of punctuation here, who was 6 foot tall, and I've got another piece of punctuation here, and I've got another comma, saved the goal. So an embedded clause makes my main clause, or just a simple sentence, make it into a complex sentence, make it really, really year 4 level. So I could add many different things into this embedded clause, but I've decided to add who was 6 foot tall. So the clause is in the middle is called an embedded clause, and it's surrounded by commas. So you can see here, just underneath, the team's goalkeeper, comma, who was 6 foot tall, comma, saved the goal. So this sentence now is a complex sentence, and the trick is with an embedded clause, if we decided to take out this middle section, the sentence would still make sense. So that's how we can tell if you've done an embedded clause correctly. So to separate the clauses in these sentences, and I want you to drag the main clause onto the two out of the bun, and then I'm going to put the embedded clause on the burger. So we've got our simple sentence or our clause. The Browns, so I'm going to put this over here, the Browns, because I know that's my start of my sentence, I've got a capital, have 4 cats. So I think that's at the end of my sentence, isn't it? Because I've got a full stop at the end. Have 4 cats. And I've got my embedded clause in the middle. So the Browns, who are our neighbours, have 4 cats. So who are our neighbours is going to be our embedded clause. Next, the rocket was launched successfully. So that's a main clause, isn't it? There's no embedded clause in that. I'm going to put the rocket because I know there's a capital T at the start. It's going to be the start of my sentence. The rocket, I've got my piece of punctuation, which was built in Russia, is going to be my embedded clause in the burger, was launched successfully. She stopped in the dark hall. There's definitely no embedded clause in there, but I know that the capital S is the she stopped is the start of my sentence. When she heard a scream, the piece of punctuation afterwards, my comma, in the dark hall. SpongeBob SquarePants loves his job at the Krusty Krab. That's just our main clause there. There's no embedded clause in there, but look underneath. So SpongeBob SquarePants, who works hard, loves his job at the Krusty Krab. Perfect. That is how we make our main clause, our simple sentences, have that little bit more information. And it says here, a tip. So embedded clauses often start with which, with, or who. So let's see if it does so. We've got here, embedded clause, who works hard, correct. We've got when she heard a scream. Which was built in Russia, yeah, we've got which. Who are our neighbours? Yeah, so all of these embedded clauses all start with these W words, who, which, when. And then we've also got a who and a with as well. So wonderful. Right guys, so now I'm going to move you on to the iPad so then we can get on to the next part of our session. So this should look quite similar to most of you. So this is just like what Mrs. C did all of last week. So on one side of your piece of paper, I would like you to have your thinking side. And on the other side of your piece of paper, I would like you to have a writing side. I would like you to split your thinking side in half, and then I would like you to have 2 sides, so side 1 and side 2. If you have your exercise book in front of you, this is a perfect opportunity to open up 2 blank pages, then you don't need to half anything. Have one side thinking, have one side writing, and make sure that you use a ruler to separate up your 2 sides. If you don't have an exercise book, just with a piece of paper, fold it in half just like so, and then you can have your thinking side on one side, your writing side, and then down the middle of your thinking side, you've got side 1 and side 2. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause it, have a go at creating that, so it should look a little bit like mine on my iPad screen, and then we'll come back together and then we'll continue. Okay, pause. Okay, so to begin with, I would like us to be on our thinking side and on side number 1. So on this side, we are going to be looking at just simple sentences, or our main clauses. So our buns of our burger. We're not going to focus on the middle just quite yet, just our main clauses. So I would like you to think back to Monday's drawing. So what you produced on Monday when we were looking at our book, Escape from Pompeii, and you were drawing your wonderful pictures, I would like you to think back to that and use this for some inspiration for our simple sentences. So for example, this one that I found on that another child has drawn, instantly I can see this wonderful Mount Vesuvius, the protector of Pompeii. I can see this temple which is just on the corner, standing tall on the harbour. I can see the harbour over here with fish, on the boats. All these wonderful ideas that I could be using in today's lesson. So get that ready, because you're gonna need it. Now, on your side 1, like I said, we're going to be just using some simple sentences. So I have started. Remember, a simple sentence, you need a noun, a thing, an object in this to make it a simple sentence or a main clause. So my first sentence is, the mountain stood tall. Nice and simple. Next, the man haggled in the streets. Again, I got this from my reading on Monday, because I remember the men were haggling in the streets, selling their goods. And then finally, the men filled the boats with wine. Again, that was from the book. So just some nice simple sentences. Remember, you need a noun towards the beginning and create some nice simple sentences from your work on Monday. You can copy some of mine, but again, I want some of your own there to see when you upload it onto Teams, okay? So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll come back, and then I've got some more that I'm going to read out, so then again, you can copy them as well. Okay, right guys, so now is your time to be writing some sentences down, okay? So pause. Right, so again, like I said before, I've got 2 more. So I've got, the sea stood calm in the wind, with the sea being my noun. And then finally, the sun lit up the city, again with the sun being the noun. You might have some of the similar ones to me. That is absolutely fine. And if you don't, you can always write these down. You can steal some for your own ideas, okay? Next. So we're now moving away from side 1. We're going on to side number 2. So we're still on our thinking side, just side 2 now, okay? So this is where we're going to look at our embedded clauses. So we've already done our main clause, we've already done our burger buns. Now we're looking at our burger, the best bit. So this is our extra information. Now remember, the top tip that SpongeBob gave us is the 3 words. So we've got which, with, and who. So all of our embedded clauses must start with either which, with, or who. Remember, it can start with some other words as well, but always with which, with, or who to start with. So I have began writing some of my own. So again, I've got who, I've got which, and I've got with at the start. So my first one, who was an old wrinkly man. My next one, who were sweating in the sunlight. My third one, which glistened in the sky. And my final one, with countless boats surrounding. So have a go at writing your own. Remember to start in with who, which, or with, some extra information, always linking back to your other side as well. So what information could you add to these sentences that you started with on your side one? Okay, give that a go. I'm going to, in a moment, ask you to pause it. You can always copy mine down. And then I've got a few more that you might want to steal as well, okay? So, pause. Okay, so let's have a look at my extra ones. So I've got 3 more. So I've got which. So which was high in the sky. Next, which was crystal clear. And finally, which towered over the city. So again, if you like any of mine, you can steal them for your own, but hopefully I've got some of your own there. So finally, we have got some main clauses in our side 1. We've got some embedded clauses in our side 2. So now it is time to move on to our writing side. So this is where we use this side and side 2, and we merge it into a complex sentence. So it starts off saying the mountain. Remember, after my noun, and I'm going to split this just like my burger buns. So I'm going to have the first part and the second part of the burger, and then I'm going to put my burger, my side 2, my embedded clause, in the middle. So let's have a go. I'll show you. I'm going to start off by saying the mountain. And remember, I start my embedded clause with a comma, which towered over the city. I end my embedded clause using a comma, stood tall. And then I end it with a full stop. So you can see I've got my capital letter, my full stop, I've got my piece of punctuation, my comma, just before I start my embedded clause and at the end of my embedded clause. Now, I have strategically placed my side 1 here with my side 2. So when you read it, the mountain which towered over the city stood tall. But for yours might not be that simple. So for example, if I was to use this one and I was to read this one and this one together, the mountain who was sweating in the sunlight stood tall. Now that doesn't quite make sense. So you need to, before you're writing it down, you need to be reading it in your head and think, does that make sense? If you come across it and you read them all and you think none of them make sense, perhaps underneath in your side 2 you could write one which will make that make sense. So I'm going to do one more with you here, just to go through it again, and then I think then you can have a go at creating some complex sentences. So we're going to start with this one. So the man haggled in the streets. So the man. After my noun, I then put my comma, who was an old, wrinkly man, comma, haggled in the streets. Full stop. So again, I've got my capital letter, I've got my full stop at the end, and I've got my commas just before my embedded clause and just after my embedded clause. Alright guys, so have a go at your last 3 or 4, however many that you have got, and then we'll go through them, okay? Alright guys, so pause. Alright guys, so we're going to go through one more together, and then we're going to end off our lesson. So for this third one, so the men, my comma, who were sweating in the sunlight, and I end my embedded clause with a comma, filled the boats with wine. And a full stop at the end. Again, I've got my capital letter, my full stop, and then I've got my 2 commas just before my embedded clause and just after the embedded clause. Okay, brilliant guys. Right, so I'm going to leave these 2 blank because I'm sure that you will have done them. So take a picture for me, or a screenshot, or however you've done it. take a picture of both your thinking side and your writing side, upload them to Class Dojo, to Teams, so then I can see all your wonderful work. So guys, that is going to be the end of our English lesson. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that all makes sense. If it did not, please do message me on Class Dojo and we can have a look and try and sort it, okay? Alright guys, so thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!